Hi everyone, I've got a success story for you and it's from M in Australia. And it goes like this. This is pretty delayed considering the time of events that this all occurred, but I am sending this message with tons of gratitude for you and all that you do. I am a huge benefactor of your meditations and your videos, which have brought so much light into my life. Thank you for all that you do. I'll try and do this chronologically from what I would say is the very beginning of everything. I grew up, just like many of your viewers, in a challenging household situation. To begin with, we were poor. I grew up eating cheese and bread for breakfast, lunch, and dinner because that's as much as we could afford. At one point, my parents couldn't afford to pay for our schooling, so they had to borrow money from a family friend in order to cover the costs. We went to a Catholic school in Canada, which are subsidized by the government. So in other words, we couldn't afford a cheaper tuition. My mother had at the time, she is better now, borderline personality disorder tendencies. I'm going to say tendencies because her behaviors suit the pattern, but was never officially diagnosed. That was marked with extreme outbursts, extreme fears of abandonment, black and white thinking, depression, and suicidal ideas, etc. Essentially, I grew up fearing that she would take her own life, and I did everything possible to prevent that, never hanging out with friends, promising to become a doctor like she wanted, even though I didn't want that, and going shopping with her for hours a day, basically spending every moment with her, even if it was inconvenient for me, i.e. homework didn't get done or I never stayed in bed when sick. I acted as her therapist, listening to her life traumas, regrets, etc. My sister was also not doing too well growing up, and I also feared the same things for her as I did my mother. I was the golden child and she was the black sheep scapegoat. I never felt above her or felt like our unequal treatment was warranted because I knew that it was part of my mum's illness. Looking back on it from a point of self-love now, I think I could say I was a pretty smart kid. But because I knew what my mum was doing to my sister's self-esteem, I got into the habit of putting myself down in order to bring my sister up. My father was largely absent at work during the day, seeing friends in the evening, etc. We never did things together as a family. In fact, one time I asked him to watch a movie with me and he said, "We could be dead next week, never make plans." And so we never went. LOL. He used to call me stupid, and whenever I scored high on a school project or exam, he would remind me to not be too proud of myself because I had cousins in Lebanon who could speak 3 languages and could score the same as me without studying. So needless to say, throughout all of that, I didn't learn to value myself properly, and my self-love was in the trash. When I was in the middle of writing my finals for year 12, I met P. P is the son of my dad's good friend that he grew up with in Lebanon. P and his dad live in Australia, and he was set to visit Canada for a wedding. And since my dad and his dad were good friends, my dad permitted him to stay with us during his entire trip. I thought he was so handsome. I remember the first time I saw him smile, I felt like time stopped for a brief minute. To this day, I have not seen another smile as beautiful as his. During his trip, we got to hang out many times. We went to various museums around the city and also some amusement parks. We went on walks by the lake that wasn't too far from the house. We even took him to Banff. During the evenings, we watched movies together and sat on the couch beside each other, holding hands under the blanket. It was our little secret. However, shortly before he left to go back to Australia, I confessed my feelings to him, and he said, "I only like you like a sister." And then he ignored me for the remainder of the trip. I was heartbroken, but I was still determined. Thus began my first encounter with the law of attraction. I happened to come by a website that said that you had to repeat your wish for yourself over and over, under the moonlight. Full moon was best, but any moonlight was good. For 8 days to get what you wanted. I did just that. I wished over and over again. I wished that P and I would be together forever. That fall, I started uni. and I would message him telling him that I had gotten a job and that I wanted to plan an across Canada trip with him, that it would be all expenses paid. I know that was naive, ha ha ha. I did not actually know the cost of things. He frankly told me that he had no intentions of visiting Canada again in the near future and that there was so many other places he would rather visit. I finally took the hint and I gave up. During my stint in uni, I joined a certain church, which I will not name. It was great at first because it provided me community, which I had been sorely lacking. However, the teachings were not exactly the healthiest for my already waning mental health and self-love. I won't go too much into the teachings, but essentially it was like a toxic relationship where you constantly felt ashamed of yourself and they taught you to feel unlovable and inadequate without it. I had several SPs while in the church. I prayed to God that he would help me with my relationships with these people, but it never worked out. I just kept getting used and overlooked, and it was not a fun time. Sorry, this wasn't the case with everyone. I did have a good friend named E who was just the best. However, I was in such a bad state of mind when we were seeing each other that I completely ruined that friendship by being too needy and demanding and toxic. At the time, I was working 3 jobs because my dad told me I was selfish for going to school instead of providing for them. Going to uni full-time and was constantly being blamed for the lack of family finances. I just wanted E to marry me so that I could get out of there and not deal with my family anymore. He wasn't interested, and looking back on it, I'm so happy he chose himself and walked away from me. He's with a beautiful woman now, and they have a beautiful baby girl because I am trying to manifest a friendship with him again so that I can actually be the friend I was supposed to be then. The same kind of wonderful friend he was to me. I do periodically check his social media, and they look like they have such a wholesome, fun relationship, which makes me so happy. Anyway, eventually I left the church and I started seeing someone who formally introduced me to the law of attraction. My degree was in science, so I was like, this is a load of BS. But when he started pulling away from me, I started trying to go on YouTube to find ways to use the law in order to pull him back in. That's when I found your channel. I did watch a couple of your more informative videos, but most of the time it was just me trying to use meditations to make him do things like text me. I did have successes in that, but it didn't blossom into anything further. I then rebounded onto a nice, young, in his 30s man who was a professor at one of the local universities. I need to clarify age. I wasn't seeing an old man, LOL. I wasn't that interested, but then one day he ghosted me and then I went ballistic. I overtexted, I overcalled, I cried, I even went to his department to drop off food like a stalker. That led me to begin meditating to get a text message from him because I desperately needed to hear from him and validate my bruised ego. During this time, it was COVID. I was really going through it because I had been fully supporting my parents financially, even though they were capable of working. I didn't mention this, but I hadn't completed uni due to burnout and finances, and I really wanted to go back. However, because of how steep rent was and because I was still paying off my student loan debt on top of all the bills I had to pay, I was not able to put any money into savings. My mental health was at an all-time low, and I even considered ending it all. One day when on a drive with my dad, we were passing by the university and I mentioned that I had missed going to school. He yelled at me to stop thinking about it because I was helping them out and that I could go back when I'm 50. In that moment, it clicked for me that I wasn't my parents' priority and that my best interests weren't their concern. So I packed my things and left. I moved into a tiny studio apartment in the downtown area of my city and I loved it. I went for walks, runs around my neighborhood. I cooked delicious and healthy foods for myself. I had all the time in the world to myself to take care of myself and prioritize me. I was still trying to manifest the uni professor back into my life, but when I went back to your channel, I decided to watch more of your videos, this time on self-love and the Ho'oponopono, healing the inner child. Since I now had space away from my family, I had the chance to really heal my inner child. One day while doing a self-love meditation, I got a message from P, remember him, telling me that he was interested in me. We had been consistently messaging each other since 2018. At this point in time, it was 2020. And I was surprised to say the least. I wasn't interested in him, and I felt almost angry that he suddenly was interested in me 9 years after I had originally told him my feelings and he turned me down. I told him that I needed time to think. 2 weeks after his initial confession, he sent me a video where he talked about a book he'd read. It was cute. At the end of the video, he said something like, I've never done this before, talked to me myself. No, have talked to myself. I just never recorded myself talking to myself. And then he ended the video with that same beautiful smile that I remembered when I was 17. It came to me in that moment he was willing to put himself out there in a way that he never had done before, just for me. And I think that that really helped me to realize the nature of his feelings, that they were genuine, that they were good. I made the best decision ever that day, and I decided to give him a chance. It was the best relationship ever. He's the kindest, most considerate, most incredible person, and I love him so dearly. Actually, an interesting part of that is he totally manifested me. He told me that for years at night he would imagine us sleeping beside each other as husband and wife. So it's funny because I tried manifesting him initially and then he manifested me. Anyway, we've been together since 2020 and we have been married since 2022. We live in Newcastle, New South Wales together, which I absolutely love. And I thought I was a big city girl, but I love how laid back it is here. It's so beautiful too, with the beaches nearby, the variety of trees that punctuate the city. We own a house, which is a wonderful blessing to have, especially with how the market is currently. And I am just so blessed and thankful. Also, here's a win for healing the inner child and forgiving those in my past. My relationship with my family members is great. My mum is better, my dad is around more, my sister and I have a good relationship. My parents have moved up from living in a rundown duplex to a beautiful brand new apartment complex. I wanted them to live in a nice place, so I'm thankful for that. My parents have been able to save money for the first time ever, which is amazing, and my sister got divorced and now she's seeing someone who is more attentive and spends lots of quality time with her. Things are bright and shiny in our lives. I'm looking forward to writing you more of my successes once I manifest my dream job and I manifest my relationship with E again, and obviously a friendship with his family as well. That is, of course, if he wants to, not going to force it. I have a lot of faith right now that things will work out beautifully. I mean, they already have, and I know that they will work out as well for your viewers. Remember self-love always. It'll really help you realize what it is you truly want for yourself so that you can receive it knowingly and gratefully. Society glorifies things like hustle, culture, burnout, marital struggle. There's so much glorification of the struggle and getting through it and rising above it, but life really doesn't have to be that hard. We only get a brief time on this beautiful planet. Make sure to make the most of it while you're here. Lots of love, and again, thank you, Agnes, for your beautiful soul. May you keep being showered with the most delicious blessings. Thank you, M. Now, M wrote another little bit of an email a few days later. So she says this: I forgot to mention that I did attract the uni professor back when I was 6 months into my relationship with P. He told me he missed me and wanted to see me, but I just wished him well, and that was that. If you don't see this before you make your video, I'll include it in the comments in the case people are curious what happened with that. They do come back eventually. Hugs and love. I hope you have a great day or night, depending on when you get this. M. Beautiful. That's so great. Yeah, I mean, sometimes, wow, you really start on the back foot and you must have really did some fantastic self-love work. Well done to you. And what a success story. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Lots of love, everyone. I will put the specific person playlist success story down below in the description and up here next to my head, and also the self-love meditations. I will also put some free courses. There is one for long distance, there's another one to attract your person, and there is a SP free course, and one more, another course, which is how to have a wonderful relationship with your person. So I'm going to add those down below too. See you soon.